Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's broadcast of Speaking of Gas. This is a weekly look at what matters to you, the owners of oil and gas rights in Pennsylvania, and it's brought to you by the GasWellGuru, always educating and advocating for the landowner. The webcast is broadcast, the webcast is recorded, and is available for later viewing on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in again. And as I mentioned, it's available on YouTube, and the previous 4 editions of Speaking of Gas, you can find there. Doing a simple search for Jackie Root or GasWellGuru will bring up all 4 of those, as you can see here. Okay. So this week, there's first of all, I would like to let you know about an event that is happening November 29th in Washington, PA, and invite everyone to join us. It's a POGLA event, and it's going to be at the Courtyard by Marriott, located near the Meadows Casino and the Tanger outlets. Details will be available on the pogla.org page, and I will be speaking there. Robert Burnett from Houston Harbaugh will also, and we'll have a legislative update, possibly from our lobbying firm and from the president of POGLA. So the 2 topics that I am going to talk about today are data available on the e-submission site for, well, anyone. It's open to the public, but what you can find there that can be helpful to you in relation to your oil and gas rights. And then the second thing that I'll talk about briefly is an answer to a question that was asked last week that I really didn't have an answer for. So the e-submission site that I'm going to talk about is, I'm going to talk about what's available there. It's not really a tutorial on how to get around it, but rather what's available there. And I have information pulled up from a number of different companies, and the companies report the information different. And so you'll be able to see covers companies in that operate across the state, and will show their varying reporting methods. So the place that we go to for this is the e-submission public search site. And this is what it looks like. You see on your screen. If you look over on the right-hand side, there are a number of criteria that you can enter. Now, some of the DEP sites, such as eNotice, requires you to enter at least 3 different criteria in order to search, but this one doesn't. You can enter any one of these, just that if you don't enter enough information, you may get more data than you want to sort through. So it is good to be specific, but you can search by county, you can search by company and date. And they make the date boxes real easy to search. They pull up calendars. You can select now as your time. But this is real handy if you're just checking permits that have, if, like, let's say you're checking every week, you can use this and not have to wade through a lot of data. Over to the left, you can see all the reports that are available, and they do all show on the screen here. You can highlight one, you can highlight a couple, using your control key, or you can leave them all blank and search for all of them, and maybe, let's say, put a well number in. So what I did for the purposes of today was I selected, I think, back to September, and I pulled up just the area of review summaries that had been issued within that time frame. So that gave me a good collection of those to show several different companies. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is okay. This is interesting that it was the first one that I pulled up. It's in southwestern Pennsylvania in Westmoreland County. And what's interesting here is this is just a well location plat. And unless I missed it, I did not see where this company filed an actual area of review summary. Rather, they filed the location plat. And so you can see it's Westmoreland County. It's in the municipality of Murraysville. And this is, you know, the first page. It's Olympus Energy Company, LLC. And this is the one that shows water sources within a certain diameter, and the list all the water purveyors. And because this is in very populated area, the list is very long. So several pages of those. Page 2, there are several pages. I think 5 pages altogether. And then the last page, the last 2 pages are the well location plat and the side view of the well. What we don't see on this, and I didn't find any indication that this shows a 1,000-foot buffer. It looks more like the 330-foot buffer, but wait a minute, look at my scale. That's 3,000 feet. Well, that might be the 1,000-foot buffer there around that. But it doesn't actually tell you that on this. So they've done it a little differently than the other companies. Here's the side view. The interesting thing I found about this one is it appears to be a 24,000-foot lateral. But that's one company, not one of the, I don't know if bigger companies the word, but less wells than many of the other larger companies. So the next one that I'll show you is the Benner well. And this one is a Cotera well that used to be Cabot. It's probably Susquehanna County, although it doesn't actually say there. People that recognize the area probably know that, but that's one of the things about the area review summaries. That's why I'm showing you a variety of them. They don't always have all the information that you necessarily would need to pinpoint, or all the information, let's say, a location plat has. However, you know, if you know where this well pad is located, you certainly, from this plat that shows all the property boundaries, you could locate your property and you could draw some conclusions about how these well bores might affect your property. And that's, I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning, but that's one of the things about these area review summaries. This is a preliminary look for you. You know, if you are the person that has the well pad on this Benner, if you're the J Benners, if that's correct, that has the well pad on their property, then you get all this. You have to sign off on all this. But if you're, let's say, a landowner or a mineral owner down in this area, you're not necessarily going to get anything. So following these in your area can give you a glimpse of the proposed drilling and where it is in relation to your property. Now, the other thing is what they show in these area review summaries is other wells that are within that 1,000-foot buffer. And this one's in the Northeast. So let's see. I don't know that you're going to find in that particular area any conventional wells in the Northeast. However, if you look at the key here, the dark lines are drilled wells and the light gray lines are competitor wells. And I think I saw there's a competitor well. Southwestern has this one. It looks like the pad is in this area, and there's the well bore. And I think the key doesn't say so, but it appears that they're using this symbol for the bottom hole of the well, because you can see that here in all these as well. There's a plugged well within this, and there's some dark lines. So apparently that's other wells by Coterra that have been drilled already in the area. And as we look at some in southwestern PA, we'll see where there are conventional wells within that buffer. That orange line is the buffer. So Coterra took care of all the 5 laterals in one area of review summary. They're all listed there. And this buffer, it shows 1,000, well, this shows 1,100 foot for whatever reason, buffer around all of these wells. So that, and the object is to delineate all these other wells that could have the potential to communicate with the proposed wells when they're fracking. We have had that issue in Tioga County and Union Township. It was a number of years ago where an old conventional well that was actually abandoned blew out during a frack, and rules have changed since then, how they have to identify those wells. There was actually a well, I was doing some work for a client down in southwest Pennsylvania, and the same thing. There were some wells that communicated that may have changed some drilling plans on the proposed laterals. Okay, so let's move on to another company, and this is the Dimig well. And now on this particular one, there were actually 3 documents filed, or 2. Let's see, 3. Dimig. Okay, so this one is again, they filed a plat, and this is Southwestern. It's in Forkston Township, Wyoming County. And that shows all the information that a normal plat shows. I want to, kudos to that company for a location plat that easily allows you to determine how that well bore will potentially affect your property. It shows all these parcels, which you can match up with a location plat. It shows where this is located and the side view of the well and the formations. And then this actually also shows coal areas in relation to it, and how that could be affected by coal, which I don't think that there was. It shows the location of the well here, and it doesn't appear that it's near any of those anthracite fields that are shown. And then this one shows multiple proposed well bores here, and some lines that are, let's see, do not necessarily denote unit declarations, but let's not even go there, because this is a location plat they apparently put up there for reference. And then I'm going to show you the area of review summary they filed, which is different, and includes the information that is required. And that is this document. So, oh no, that's the Benner. I'm sorry. Let me go back and pull up the other DIMIG final. Oh, there were two of those. Oh, here we go. There's your. I got my documents out of order. Okay, here is the area of review summary that Southwestern filed for those same wells. And the pink well bores show the proposed wells. These purple dotted lines is 1,000-foot buffer. And they didn't show it in the key, in the legend, but there's a Chesapeake well that actually comes into that buffer on this one. And there are a couple more DIMIG wells that may have already been drilled by Southwestern. So again, this is good examples of the different information that the companies put out and how to interpret it and know how it affects you. The next one is the Gregor. And this one is an EQT well going back to Southwestern PA. And this is great because it also shows the Gregor shows those shallow wells that I talked about. Let me get back to where I can manipulate this. There we go. Okay. So there's the buffer we talked about. And in the key, this one has a dark blue that shows the actual ladder, the Gregor 7H. And then this lighter blue line shows other laterals, whether they're drilled or proposed. That's not what this particular area of review summary is showing. And then they put very complete information on here. These other laterals, it shows the Sanders laterals in different colors, the white laterals. But they're concerned, this buffer is concerned with this 7H well. And here's those conventional wells I talked about. And in the key, you'll see that the red ones, and this is the universal gas symbol. These are DEP maps, so you'll find that they use the correct symbols. Sometimes county GIS departments and like that don't always, sometimes they make up their own. But in this case, these are the gas symbols. The red one says that they're plugged and abandoned wells. And you can see they're within that buffer. There's a green one that's an active well. So that could be a conventional well, although I don't see a lateral on it. It could be unconventional. It could be a conventional well that is in fact producing. And then there's this orange one says abandoned well. And then actually there's a purple well that says undetermined well. So a guess that this is that sometimes they will, well, very often they'll send questionnaires to people within this area and say, are you aware of any plugged, abandoned, whatever wells in your area? And, there's a lot of anecdotes about, they drilled a well over next to the swamp over off from Smith Road. And then there'll be all kinds of stories that surround that if people remember it. But it may not even show up on a DEP map. And so it could be something like that. So they're going to look at all those and determine if they need to be replugged. On our property, when they drilled our well, they actually went in and replugged a well that was, probably less than 1,000 feet from the formation, from the Marcellus. And it was within the wellbore path, and they actually went in and replugged that to specifications to prevent a blowout. So there's the example of the EQT well. And let's see, I think I have one more, and that is, excuse me, a Penn Energy well. So here's another company. Penn Energy has a lot of wells in southwestern Pennsylvania. Again, different format. This one is overlaid on an aerial photo. So it's very easy to determine where that well bore comes in relation to your property. This orange line, it's funny because it almost looks like it was drawn with a marker, maybe not quite, but is the 1,000-foot buffer, which it says up here. And then it says offset wells. And we see an offset well here, 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 down here, and here. So these may very well, and I'm kind of thinking from the numbering that those well numbers begin with a 019 and then a 0, that these are probably conventional wells that they're going to have to, they've identified and may have to deal with when they frack this. And then I'll just know, this map shows this is due north. This well's on a little different angle than we typically see for these wells. And there can be a lot of reason for that. That's just what I'm eyeballing and seeing on this one. If how that's drawn in there is absolutely accurate. So that's, again, Penn Energy. And, my point about showing all these different ones is that the companies all do it a little differently. The state requires them to do that, requires them to provide certain information. Did they all comply with that? Not entirely sure. It's very possible that that very first one I showed, I'd have to go back and actually look at the scale on that. Maybe that buffer shown around it is 1,000 foot, but I don't know that for sure. There's no question that occasionally I find that, completion reports haven't been filed when they should have been. Regulatory and active permits weren't filed on time. Different things have occurred that are they always followed up on immediately? Maybe not. And did they always file an e-submission or an area of review summary prior to getting a permit? Maybe not. So, but this is what should be available. And again, how you might want to use that is tracking that for your area. You can get a heads up on potential new wells and how they may affect your property. And then one more thing, I've mentioned in other webcasts that some companies on their location plats and then again on unit declarations are showing you a line with coordinates at each end, and they are not providing parcel lines and data so that you can locate that well bore easily. And so if that's what the company is doing, and I think some of those companies might have been shown here, but without actually pulling that up, I'm not going to call anyone out. This area of review summary may be your ticket to actually figure out where that well bore is and how it might affect your property. Okay. Now, one last thing about the area of review summary is that there is information that you can pull up on this. So let me share another screen. Okay, this is the actual live public search screen. And I had a different one ready. Let me pull up the other one. You can actually look for all the information for a specific well. And I guess it didn't do it. This can be very helpful to pull up everything but production reports on a particular well that you're involved in. So to do that, you pull up, and I'm not going to explain to you how to do what I'm doing right now because it's not always easy to do this. But you can figure it out. You need your API number for the well, not including the state number. So in this case, I'm putting in 015-23705. And I'm not going to click any reports. I'm going to click search. And this happens to be the Redbone well in Wyoming County, in Wilmot Township, Bradford County. And you can see now that in chronological order, going backwards, we have the error review summary report, we have a well record, we have well logs, we have a completion report, and a post-drilling site restoration report. So if you go to view on any one of these, you can pull up that report. And just because it's interesting, not because I know anything about it, that's one of those things I know enough about to be dangerous. I'm going to pull up the well log, and that's the completion report. Interestingly, well logs used to be, and they may still be, confidential for 5 years, meaning they don't have to put the well log up for 5 years, but they're available. This particular one, and the company is Chesapeake. They're not always the most transparent company in the world, but here's their well log. And I'm going to download that and open it. And so here's a well log, and sometimes they'll be up early, and it will only be the well log of like the water table or the early case, the casing to shallow depths. This is the entire well log. And so this is reading from cuttings, data on the formation, what they're encountering. And I can't begin to tell you what all those mean. I do think that the areas in blue are showing a show of gas. Now, don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure, because as you get down into the formation, which is the Marcellus, okay, here's an area where we've got the blue showing up. And then starting here, going throughout the length of that horizontal, we're seeing the blue line. And I think you'll find that that's the show of gas throughout that. But the reason I'm showing this is we've got all these reports that are available, and you can pull up all of them by just taking a look by a well. Let me try to get out of this screen now. By putting in one well number, that you can pull all that up. Okay, sometimes I get lost here. Okay, stop. Okay, hopefully we're back to showing my screen. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, I said there was a question asked last week, and I didn't have, well, actually the answer I gave turned out to be fairly accurate because there was really no new information. But the question was, have there been any updates on the New Fortress LNG site proposed site in Wyalusing, Pennsylvania, in Bradford County? And that's where they bought like a 265 acre site, and they excavated it all off. And the idea was that they were building a plant to liquefy natural gas from the Northeast here, where we have dry gas that can easily be used to produce LNG. New Fortress Energy does this all over the country, and they export it all over the world. They do a lot in areas of the Caribbean where they don't have the resources, and they ship out of, I think they ship out of Miami to those areas that then can, reconstitute that liquefied natural gas and use it for fuel. But their plan in Wyalusing was to liquefy that gas and initially ship it out on trucks from out on Route 6. And that could go anywhere where you could take natural gas to be used as a fuel. And like, for instance, the New England states, they've actually in the past imported gas from, I believe, actually from Russia, because we can't ship LNG from our ports to our ports due to the Jones Act, and I'm not going into that today, but if you look it up, you'll find some real disheartening, interesting information. But anyhow, that could be trucked to a location like that. But eventually the plan was, because this is right on the railroad tracks there, the railway was to ship it by rail car to a Philadelphia terminal, and that was all part of the project, to be exported. So a lot of things happened to hold up permits, and I was asked where that's at. So as far as I know, nothing's moving forward right now. New Fortress did apply for, reapply for some permits in like the April timeframe. As far as I know, nothing has gone forward on that. So that's what I know. That was about where it was at, what I thought at that time, but I did do a little bit of looking to see. So I'm right on schedule. I like to keep these to about a half an hour. Thank you for joining me today. We've got a few people on there, but I know from looking at my YouTube channel that a lot of people are tuning in at their leisure and looking at the videos, and certainly you can go there and view this at any time. And if you didn't catch something the first time, you can listen to me as many times as you'd like. This same link will work every Wednesday at noon. If you go on my GasWellGuru site to the free webinar page, you can sign up to get a reminder every Wednesday morning. And so I hope you'll consider tuning in either live or on YouTube for our new broadcasts each week. And then I always got to put the plug in. Please consider joining the Pennsylvania Oil and Gas Landowner Alliance. It's POGLA.org, and join, and you'll get our weekly newsletter, lots of other information, and invitations to meetings like we'll be holding in Washington, PA on November 29th. So thank you for tuning in. And if there are any questions, I had instructions up on how to ask questions. And if there are any, I'll take a look before I actually end this. And I don't see any questions. Okay, so with that, I'll wrap it up and see you next time.